What's up, YouTube? Moves here. Now, here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turned 10, 20, and 30 this week. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary, we got the film adaptation of the Orson Scott Card's novel, Ender's Game. Now, Ender's Game stars Asa Butterfield as the role of Andrew Ender Wiggin, and an unusual gifted child who is sent to an advanced military academy in space to prepare for like a future alien invasion. You also had an interesting cast. You had the likes of Harrison Ford, Sir Ben Kingsley, Viola Davis, Haley Steinfeld, Abigail Breslin. I mean, talk about an interesting cast. They obviously were trying to make this thing into a franchise and everything. Like, ever since like Harry Potter, Twilight, Hunger Games, all got released, they were always trying to find their way to pretty much get the next YA adaptation, and this game was not it. I mean, it had an interesting premise here, like interesting lore, but it just did not really. It wasn't that great a film. I mean, I did like Asa Butterfield, who I think this dude's a terrific actor. Of course, he was coming off of Martin Scorsese movie, which was Hugo. He was pretty good. Like Haley Steinfeld was pretty great in this shoot, but it just was a tad bit boring one. Uh, Harrison Ford he could have done better, but it's just shame back in 2013 he did both this and he also did another like he also did Paranoia that same year. So not the best year for Harrison Ford, but hey, at least he came back. Went ahead and come back for Han Solo 2 more years, so that's cool. But yeah, this just did not really do much. And it was also directed by Gavin Hood, who is best known for directing X-Men Origins Wolverine. So there's that too. All right, also turning 10, we got the comedy Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas was directed by John Turteltaub, who of course directed National Treasure, and he will go on to direct The Meg. Now, this is a comedy that stars, I guess you could say it's like the Hangover for old folks. It starred Michael Douglas, Rob De Niro, Morgan Freeman, and Kevin Kline. And it's about three retirees travel to Las Vegas to have a bachelor party for their last remaining singer friend. And he also had like Mary Steenburgen was in this. A fun cameo by LMFAO popped up in this. You also had Turtle from Entourage popping up in this too. If you guys have not seen Las Vegas, this movie is terrific. It has lots of heart to it. The four leads, like you have four living legends working together here, and they all play off each other well. It had some really fun laughs. It was really heartfelt too. It's a really movie that got released back in 2013. It does not really get talked about as much, but it is really terrific. All right, also turning 10, we got Freebirds, which is a Thanksgiving anime film that features the voice sounds of Owen Wilson, Woody Harrelson, Amy Poehler, George Takei, Dan Fogler, Keith David, and it follows like Reggie and Jake, who are two turkeys who travel back in time to the first Thanksgiving in 1621 as they embark on their on a mission to get their fellow turkey off the menu. And it's not like a great anime film, but it's definitely it's Hyman is a little bit unforgettable probably. Well, I actually remember I watched this one in theaters back in 2013. I had a fun time with it. It was really cute, charming. I mean, you don't really see many Thanksgiving anime films, so it was pretty cool to see that. So, not a bad little film if you guys ever seen it. Now, also turning 10, we got the Dallas Buyers Club. Now, this was a biopic film that was directed by the late John Mark Valley, who also directed the Reese Witherspoon movie Wild. He also worked on Big Little Lies, some really decent stuff he's done. And he also had like the likes of Matthew McConaughey, Jared Leto. Both of those two, of course, will go on to win their Oscar for this film, which I still think Leo DiCaprio should win that year. But hey, Matthew McConaughey was still really great in this. Now, if you guys don't know much about the story of Dallas Buyers Club, it tells the story of Ron Woodruff, played by Guy, an AIDS patient diagnosed in the mid 1980s, a time when HIV/AIDS pathogenesis and treatments were poorly understood, and the disease subjected to stigmatization as part of the ongoing experiment AIDS treatment movement. And of course, you had like Jennifer Garner, who was great in this. Jared Leto, who, hey, you know what? I know there's lots of people. I know the cool thing is you hate on Jared Leto with stuff like when he played like the Joker and stuff like that, which I like this Joker. I don't care what anyone says. I think Jared Leto is a terrific actor, and here, of course, he of course pretty much played a transgender character, which, to be honest, looking at that now, might be a little problematic today, but I still thought Jared Leto really played the part well. Like, definitely a well-deserving Oscar win. Jennifer Garner was great in this. I mean, if you guys have not seen Dallas Buyers Club, it is really training flick. I mean, I didn't really like. I was never. I knew obviously knew about the AIDS epidemic and everything, but I didn't really knew too much about the story of it going in, and I thought it was an excellent watch. So if you guys never seen it, definitely give this one a go. Like, yeah, I believe this also got nominated for Best Picture, if I'm not mistaken, too. So, yeah, this thing has really had a lot of Oscar loves. All right. Now, also turning 20 this week, we got The Human Stein, directed by Robert Benton, based on a novel starring the likes of Anthony Hopkins, Nicole Kidman, Gary Sinise, and Ed Harris. Now, if you don't know much about the story about this, it's where Coma Silk is a worldly admired professor who loses his job after unwillingly milking Rachel Usler. To clear his name, Silk writes a book about the events with his friend and colleague Nathan Zuckerman, who in the process discovers a dark secret that Silk has hidden his whole life. All the while, Silk engages in an affair with Fiona Foley, a younger woman whose tormented past strands to unravel the layers of deception Silk has constructed. And this was really decent little flick. Like, of course, Nicole Kidman was great in this. You had Anthony Hopkins, very underrated little gem. If you guys haven't seen that. All right, also turning 20, got Shattered Glass, which is actually which was actually written and directed by Billy Ray, and he had Hayden Christensen, Pierre Sarsgaard, Chloe Sevigny, Steve Zahn, Rosario Dawson, and it is of course based on a true story about journalist Stephen Glass and his scandal at the New Republic. The film is, of course, based on the 1998 Vanity Fair article of the same name by H.G. Bisslinger and chronicles Glass's fall from grace when his stories were discovered to a fabricated. Now, so funny because, of course, Hayden Christensen, by the way, I know. Every time you think of Hayden Christensen, you always go ahead and just think of Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels. Let me just say, he's more than just Anakin. This is actually the movie I guess say that really made me go Hayden because of course I was at the time, like everyone, I did remember watching him in popping up Phantom, not Phantom Mass, in Attack the Clones and everything. But this was actually the movie that made me go, this guy is more than just Anakin. Like, he has some legit acting chops. So of course, Ahsoka came and went. It was so funny seeing both Zari Dawson and Hank Christian appearing in that because they were also in Shattered Glass together. So I really found that to be fun. And like how here Hayden Christensen plays a character who had a scandal with something called the New Republic because obviously it's the old Republic now. So I really find that a little bit of a Star Wars connection there. But yeah, Shattered Glass is a really intriguing film. Like Hayden Christensen, like I really think Hayden Christensen should do more films like this. Like he really has some legit acting chops, and Shattered Glass, what, really showed it. So yeah, it's a shame that he doesn't really do barely much of these. Frankly, he does barely do much anything anymore nowadays. But I really want to see him come actually do these type of roles because he really has some legit acting chops, and here he showed it. So yeah, if you guys never seen Shattered Glass, do yourself a favor, give it a go. It's a really drink film worth checking out. All right, also turning 20, we got the movie In America, directed by Jim Sheridan, who's also best known for directing the Daniel Day Lewis movie My Left Foot. And this stars the likes of John Hudson, Samantha Morton, Sarah and Emma Bogler, Penny Coston, best known for House of Dragon fame. Now, this is actually a semi-autobiographical film by Jim Sheridan and his daughters Naomi and Kristen, and focuses on an immigrant Irish family's struggle to start a new life in New York City, as seen through the eyes of of the elder daughter. Now, John Manhattan, by the way, I've seen him before, like in Amadeus, but this is actually the movie that made me become a little bit more of a fan of his. I mean, I thought John Manhattan was terrific in this film. Of course, Sarah Bogler and her sister Emma was both great in this. This is, of course does take place in New York City as well, so there's that. So not a bad little film if you guys haven't seen it. Right now, the film's turning 30 years old this week. We of course got Robocop 3. Of course, directed by Fred Decker, best known for directing The Monster Squad. Written by Frank Miller and Decker, starring the likes of Robert Burke, original Robocop actress Nancy Allen, and Rip Torn. It is set in the near and saved Detroit from falling into sorry. It does of course is set in the near future in a dystopian metropolitan Detroit, and the plot centers around Robocop, this time around played by Robert Berg, replacing Pierre Weller. As he vows to avenge the death of his partner Ann Lewis, who is of course played by Nancy Allen, reprising a role from the first two films. And of course he needs to save Detroit from falling into chaos. Of course, you have Rip Dorn playing the villainous. You had the likes of Bradley Whitford, Steve Root, Mako, John Posey. This is obviously nowhere near as good as the original Robocop. Like, the original Robocop is an iconic film all to itself. But it's still not that great a film. Like, it's more of a guilty pleasure, really. But, obviously nothing beats the original. It just wasn't all that great. Like, it definitely had some really decent moments to it, but yeah, it just really felt pretty poorly here. So yeah. Alright. Now Robocop 3 is not the only third summer turning its big 3-0. Also turning 30, we got Look Who's Talking Now, starring John Travolta, the late Chrissy Alley, featuring the voices of Danny DeVito and Diane Keaton. And of course, this is the third installment of the Look Who's Talking franchise, which of course started all the way back in 1988. Of course, there was obviously there was also the sequel as well. While this time around, if you guys don't know much about the story here, James and Molly, played by John Travolta and Chrissy Alley, are expanding the family again. This time with Rox the Mud, voiced by Danny DeVito, and Daphne the Poodle, voiced by Diane Keaton, a mismatched pair who spends their time training insults the humans can hear. Meanwhile, James gets a big break working at a working as a private pilot for cosmetic tycoon Samantha, who is played by Lisette Esme. But his employee is determined, but his employer is determined to pry him away from his wife, his children, and of course his dogs. Now, obviously, in the first two, you had the character Mikey, who was a baby. Obviously, Mikey was voiced by Bruce Willis, but they decided to age him up a little bit, and this time he's just a regular. He's pretty much just a regular kid. This time around, played by David Gallagher, and of course, you have his sister Julie, who's no longer voiced by Roseanne Barr anymore. Now she's a little older here, and she's just played by a regular person who's also appeared in Hairspray, by the way. So that was pretty cool. But well, of course, Look Who's Talking Now is nowhere near as good as Look Who's Talking 1 and 2. I like Look Who's Talking 2. I don't care what anyone says. I still had a fun time with this. I mean, I love a good talking dog movie, and this definitely has a fun charm to it. Hearing like Danny DeVito and Diane Keaton both voicing dogs and going at it with one another was pretty fun to see. So, yeah, I really quite like the Look Who's Talking franchise. I don't care what anyone says. They're like, are they perfect films? Obviously not. But the third one definitely is just as good. So, in my opinion, obviously, but yeah, I believe this has a 0% Rotten Tomatoes, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, probably one of the rare few films with a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes that I quite enjoy, but that's just me. All right. Now, other films celebrating its 3rd anniversary, we got the erotic thriller Fatal Instinct, which is pretty much like a play on both Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct, which both had Michael Douglas in it. You had Armand Asante, Sharon Fenn, Sean Young, Chris McDonough. If you guys don't know much about the story here, uh, the film at the time had reached its which is of course a parody of the erotic thriller genre. Um, and the film stars Armin Assan as lawyer slash cop Ned Revine, a takeoff of the William Hurt film Body Heat. Here he ends up having an affair with a woman named Lola, Kane, played by Sean Young, and Kate Nelligan stars as like Ned's wife, and Sharon Fan plays the secretary. And obviously, there was a lot of spoof stuff at the time, and this was actually directed by Carl Reiner of all people, which was pretty fun to see. And I say, Fatal Instinct is not a great film, but it's definitely a really fun like parody film worth checking out. Like Armand Assad, he doesn't really do as much anymore, but I always quite liked him. He's always terrific. Sean Young from No Way Out is always great. I mean, this definitely was a fun play on like the erotic thrillers of that of that era, whether it's like Basic Instinct, whether it's A Fair Attraction, Body Heat, 9.5 Weeks, and also if you guys, and of course you got Chris McDonough in this, one more gags for there, so not a bad little film if you guys haven't seen it. All right, also turning 30, we got The Remains of the Days, which stars Anthony Hopkins, who plays James Stephens, who serves as a proper English butler to the Dodge Lord Darlington, played by James Fox. And Stephen is so dedicated that he forgoes visiting his father on his deathbed in order to serve and overlook Darlington Nazi sympathies and growing anti-services. And 20 years after his employee's death, he reconnects with Miss Kent, played by Emma Thompson, and who is Darlington's head housekeeper, and begins to regret his loyalty to his former master. Now, this actually scored lots of Oscar nominations. I always thought like Emma Thompson won, but I think she won for Harrison, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if she won for this or Harrison, but yeah, I think it was for Harrison. Of course, you had Anthony Hopkins was great in this. You also had the likes of Hugh Grant, the late great Christopher Reeve, the late great Ben Chaplin, Lena Headey, James Avoy, who also directed Harriet's End and The Room with a View. He also won an Oscar for Call Me by Your Name, which he wrote, which was pretty good too. I mean, the period piece stuff in this was intriguing. The performances by Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson was really good. This is, of course, based on a novel as well, so really good flick here. All right, also turning 30. Oh boy, now this is not a good one, and that is Flesh and Bone, which stars Dennis Quaid, Meg Ryan, James Caan, Gwyneth Paltrow. And of course, it's like we're haunted by memories of his father murdering a family. Olive Sweeney, played by Dennis Quaid, prefers to keep to himself, focusing his energy on his work. And of course, one day, the traumatic past that pretty much eats out returns when he meets Kate Davis, played by Meg Ryan, a woman connected to the bloody event. And so, of course, obviously, Alice and Kate both fall in love here. And so, yeah, of course, Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, obviously, I believe they're actually still together, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, of course, they do have a kid, Jack Quaid, who's, who was just in a little something called Scream 6 most recent. You also have some other cool cast members like Gwyneth Paltrow, James Caan was great. Sad to say this is a really terrible film. I mean, it it actually has its friends, but I was never one of them. Like, it just never really sit right with me. I just always found this thing, completely boring at times. I mean, definitely not my favorite like Meg Ryan film or my favorite Dennis Quaid film or anything like that. So yeah, like this is not like one of the worst movies of the night, something like that. But yeah, I was just never a fan of it. So that's just me. But let me leave you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10 one, I should probably say Las Vegas because that was hilarious, but I'll probably go with Dallas Buyers Club that because that was a really good one. The 30 one, the 20-year one, I'm gonna go with Shattered Glass, and the 30-year one. Okay, wait. It says 30-year one. I'm gonna go with Look Who's Talking Now because I just love it. I'm just a sucker for the Look Who's Talking franchise. Anyway, drop a comment down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Human Stein.